Talks Weekend Edition. I'm Brian Webb with Trenton Hooker. Michael Obie back there steering the bus. We're join us on YouTube if you'd like. We'd like to
Yeah.
get to some of your comments. That's what this is all about, really. A little interaction. Seems like half the world's already on vacation, whether it's not even July yet,
It's
right?
about that time. You're pretty
Mentally,
checked
yeah,
out, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I finally got smart. Tried to stack my vacations during the summer
Mm.
when it's
Should
kind
watch
of
that.
hot.
That can get you in trouble.
Saying it
Yeah.
out loud?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going over a couple of things. Local story. We have Kenzie Beach, our fantastic reporter. She's working back. We dragged her back to the weekends.
Yes.
You
Yes.
try to. You can check. How's it? What's the saying? You can't. You can
try,
leave, but you can't.
Right.
How's
Escape.
it? Yeah.
You can try,
Yeah.
but you
You
can't.
try. You can't escape the
But
weekend.
you can always come back too.
You can always come back.
Yeah, we're
we're
happy to
always
have
here. News never stops. But you're
On
on
the
a
way
tough
from
one
home.
today, Kinsey, and I feel for you on these stories. We had a couple of women who died or killed. Do we know yet?
Right. Found shot to death.
Found
I
shot to
believe.
death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Okay.
just
in
know
an
they were
apartment.
both found shot to death. Still like a couple questions, but we did get their names today, a 36-year-old and 38-year-old. But we're out here. It's kind of right off the 10. This is McDowell and 24th, I believe, and 22nd, actually. My photog just reminded me of that. But we were kind of like checked around the
Shout out
apartment,
Jamie
and I was
Walker.
actually able to talk to some residents who said they came home from work on Thursday and the entire apartment complex was just kind of covered in crime scene investigators, detectives. We know it happened on the third floor of one of these units. But the crazy thing is, these women were in this unit for a couple of days before they were found. So no one no neighbors like reported a shooting or anything like that. It was a 911 call about a welfare check. So it says that people hadn't heard or seen from them, like at the apartment complex, I guess, or maybe family members or friends or something
Yeah.
of the sorts. But yeah, they were both found with gunshot wounds, and we still just kind of have a lot more questions than answers.
Man. And Kenzie, we were talking a little bit offline, but just the difficulty in trying to find any information about these women. Do they have any social media presence right now that you're seeing?
I looked and nothing right off the bat. But just kind of talking to people out here, kind of, figuring out what this was like for residents. Was this kind of random? Are they concerned? I mean, I think a lot of people would be concerned if their neighbors were found shot to death. But one of the men we spoke to is actually trying to break his lease because he was like, how does this happen a couple doors down from you and you have no idea?
Wow.
Yeah, and you don't how does no one hear gunshots in an apartment for
Yeah.
starters? And
People especially too.
It's pretty hard to
exactly.
believe.
And you brought up the fact that, if it happened to be a murder-suicide, which we do not know at this point, but women don't usually use firearms in that situation, statistically speaking. Is that what your point was?
Yeah, I mean, again, just speculating in this case, I thought that was a little unusual that, the women were both found shot to death. And of course, Phoenix PD are looking into it to see what's all there. But statistically speaking, that's kind of uncommon for women to use firearms, especially.
That's more of
in a deadly way.
Men doing.
But we're still obviously trying to figure out what the relationship between even these two women was.
Yeah. And for them to release the names to us, a next of kin has to be notified.
Right.
So it is pretty rare. You have two women, 36 and 38 years old. You typically see, especially on social media, family members, friends, loved ones kind of posting about the, sad news that they received. So to not see that was also a little odd.
And Kinsey, we started the show, kind of the premise here was to talk about the behind the scenes stuff and how reporters and producers and photographers do their jobs a little bit, pull back the curtain. And Kinsey, on stories like this, I just personally always kind of dread having to go to a scene like this, especially when it happened days ago. Try to find someone who knows something. They're going about their daily lives. It's a weekend.
Right.
What's your best approach when you have to tackle a story like this?
Yeah, it can be kind of odd doing this, especially on a Saturday. A lot of times you run into people that have no idea this happened. So you're breaking the news to them that 2 people were found shot to death in their apartment complex. So that's always a little odd. I did run into some people that were going to sign a lease there. So I'm sure they didn't want to hear this information either. It just, but I did get, I don't know if you want to call it luck, but talking to a guy that was going to pick up a package and was, knew a lot of information about it. It's, you kind of got to take a chance. And I think too, when you pull up to an apartment and a lot of times you can't get in and there's gates or it's a hard, you feel like you're continuously kind of running into dead ends, or you kind of anticipate that going into it, but you still got to ask. And just sometimes finding that one person is what you need. But yeah, especially this one was weird because they found out about it on Thursday, but the women weren't, we believe, or Phoenix police are telling us that they weren't killed on Thursday. So right. But it was interesting, this one resident saying, he's like, gosh, I mean, I haven't heard gunshots here in a week or of the sort. So it's weird.
That's wild. Well, Kenzie, at 5:00, obviously we'll have your live report. Hopefully we know a little bit more in the next 90 minutes. So yeah, we definitely interested.
The saying I just was thinking of, I couldn't get.
Yeah.
You can check out, but you can never leave the weekends. The Eagles song from the 70s. That's Kenzie. She thinks she got away from us.
Yeah.
But she really didn't.
I kind of think it's more.
I have this date marked on my calendar. I was looking for.
Yeah. It's more. I think a little bit more Godfather 3.
Oh.
Once I get out, they pull me back in. Yeah.
Did we make her an offer she couldn't refuse?
Always.
It's nice to switch things up every once in a while. But I think Nicole got to go home and see some family, so that's always great too.
Well, we love having you. So thank you, Kenzie.
Thanks, Kenzie.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
See you soon.
Well, yeah, let's move on to the next story. Thought that was kind of interesting. A little bit of a dust up, crazy flare up on social media. I don't know if you're familiar with the Liver King.
I am.
He
and I have similar body styles.
Yes.
If you haven't noticed.
Clearly, it's self-evident. Yeah,
it's hard to tell under this suit. But,
right. So we had a dust up with Joe Rogan, I believe, America's biggest podcaster. What was their beef about?
I just saw the documentary, and the Liver King, if you don't know, you probably may know by now, is just this huge, ripped, muscular, bearded, badass dude who I think claimed he got that way by just doing badass exercises. Oh, and like eating raw meat and more meat and like with blood on it, right?
Hence the liver.
Hence the liver. Like,
yeah.
And it's Mike. Is all right, Michael, I know you have some interesting thoughts on this, but anyway, I think Joe Rogan was one of the first ones who's like, no way, this dude's on steroids.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
And Brian Johnson, I believe is his name, 47-year-old man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real quick before Michael has some hilarious thoughts on this, but so the deal is the Liver King got arrested by trying to go confront Joe Rogan?
So Joe Rogan, of course, my understanding is he moved out right before as the pandemic was happening, 2020-ish, and he's in Austin, Texas from California. So apparently this week, it happened Monday, Tuesday, Brian Johnson, seen right there, was in Austin to confront Joe Rogan. And in some of his videos he made to his followers online, the Liver King apparently was doing things that police thought were an alleged threat made to his safety to Joe Rogan, saying, I want to fight you.
Yeah, well, as cameras were rolling, I'm sure, because if it didn't happen on camera, it didn't happen.
Yeah, I believe he was crawling around on all fours and going a little crazy there.
Yikes.
Yeah, calling him out, saying, I'm coming for you. And Joe Rogan saw this, felt like, hey, this guy's making a legitimate threat against me. Apparently there were some firearms also in this video. And yeah, went to Austin PD, and Brian Johnson was arrested. As you saw in his mugshot right there.
Michael Obi, thoughts?
I think Crawling on all fours is definitely an animal lifestyle thing.
Okay, it tracks.
Nothing against
Primal.
that.
Primal, yeah.
Primal instinct. I do think, though, if you're going to call the ancestral instincts or you're going to eat bull testicles raw, you need to commit to the lifestyle, and having a TikTok account is not very caveman-like. So you got to give up electricity, you got to give up loincloths from animals that you've only bow hunted. I feel like I'll give them a bow.
That's about it.
No guns, though. And you got to learn how to draw on caves. And basically, he wasn't committed enough to the ancestral lifestyle. It's something I've been thinking about a lot.
So just a little bit more committal.
Are you in it or are you not? I mean,
I had Chick-fil-A on the way to work today, so I have a certain lifestyle, but ancestral is not. The frozen lemonades there are just too good. Electricity is one thing, but peach frozen lemonade, I don't know.
Dragon fruits,
it's too good for me.
I mean, what's the percentage of human beings on planet Earth who could even survive that real deal ancestral lifestyle?
They're on Sentinel Island, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good point.
There are those people out there. He's just cosplaying as one. And, I think cold plunge is another thing. Cavemen didn't have access to ice. They barely had fire. So I think he just wasn't committed enough, and I think he was mad at Joe Rogan because Joe Rogan made fun of his steroid use, which is when you're over 50 years old. As Brian knows, it's the only way you can have a six-pack. It's
a little emasculating. A little emasculating, for sure.
Part of this is comical a little bit, or a caricature of things, but it also addresses how Americans are just so desperate to try to get into shape, and it seems like all of society is fighting us, me included. Like, I try to eat right, I try to exercise, I could still lose a few lbs, no doubt about it. So you see a guy like this, and he's like clearly, jacked and ripped, and you're like, well, I want that. It must work to eat raw liver.
I think being fat is a blessing because it means you have, too many things. You have too many options.
True.
If you're a caveman, you're just barely hanging on. We have the blessing of indulgence and
ice cream
and fried food.
Well, the nice thing is there's always Ozempic. Hey, you're watching Fox 10 Talks. Robbie Baker joining us back.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we were talking about extreme men's lifestyles, I believe, a second ago. So another extreme one that apparently is coming back with a force is skimpy men's outfits in the pool. So
Say it isn't so.
Speedos
Say it
making a
isn't so.
trend. Back.
It's always it's always the person that probably shouldn't be wearing a speedo,
right.
It's like how many
Get
like
the memo
I've been
way
on a
too
few
late.
nudist colony stories. It's not
Yeah.
the people you
Well,
want to see.
you know
nude.
all about that the
that's
times
true.
you've been to
You've been out
Shangri-La.
there.
Yeah. I mean, no offense to
True.
but I wouldn't think people would want to see me fully that way either.
rough.
But
It's a rough one.
but
Yeah.
it's not exactly your supermodels.
Yeah.
usually.
New report, New York Times was saying that apparently all the fashion trendsetters are really big with Speedos this summer. Men
For
want them
dudes.
back. Yeah, want to show them off. So,
Well, there you go. If you got it, I mean, I guess you do
Gotta
want to
flaunt
show
it?
it off.
Yeah,
I was trying to drive to my friend's house to pick up some coolers for that epic party I had that
Yes,
you two
yes.
missed out on. I think
Legendary.
Michael Obi was there.
Well, you scheduled it on a work day for me.
Okay, my bad
True.
on that. You're right. Anyway,
Party
so
foul.
but it was North Phoenix area, and like all these dudes it was like on a Monday running around without their shirts on. They were all jacked and ripped, and I'm like, what's going on in this neighborhood, man? These guys like,
What is happening?
I get shamed as I try to just pick up a couple coolers
yeah.
for my party. It's fill them with beer. Something was
Were they
off.
also wearing speedos?
They weren't wearing Speedos, but I was like, what the heck, man?
It is Pride Month, so we do celebrate Fox 10.
I mean, but again, I guess if you got it, you want to show it off.
Clearly.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean,
I'm
triple
old enough-
digits.
I'm older than you guys.
Kinda makes
Clearly,
sense.
I remember I was of the time back in basketball where we wore the short shorts.
Oh, the short shorts.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of coming back too
Is
a little
it?
bit. I feel like. Well,
Mhm.
I'm only 33, but I remember like the early 2000s drafts where the guys, the big baggy suits,
Oh,
like Tracy
yeah,
McGrady
yeah.
got drafted and stuff like that. And nowadays everything's back to like nice tailored fit,
Is it?
and the shorter
Yeah.
shorts are coming back,
Bespoke.
and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Jordan, I think, is the one who changed the shorts. He went with the big, long, baggier shorts,
Longer
if
shorts.
I remember right. And whatever Michael did, the rest of us followed. But at first, it was like, whoa, like how do you even run in those things? Like they're like parachute pants. But
Yeah.
that took off, and now people look at my high school, college basketball teeny weeny shorts, and I'm the butt of the joke.
Well, you know how
Yeah.
all this stuff is too. What's old becomes new
Yeah,
again. You
for
know, it's
sure.
all
True.
cyclical. You know.
Well, and really it just depends on what you're working on that day. I think we actually have a clip real quick of our own Corey McCloskey
Corey is one for a
donning the
speedo.
Speedo.
Oh,
yes,
yes.
Corey is one
yes.
for a speedo.
Oh
Man,
gosh!
Wow, there
oh
he
gosh!
is. There
We
he
can't
is.
unsee this once we see it. You realize
Yeah.
that?
It's
Just,
dangerous going down a water slide with
It's
that.
No
very
kidding.
Water
true.
slide takes things.
There's
with
so many
it.
ways this could
Like-
go wrong.
Good point, Michael. Was that even a Speedo to start with, or did it become one later?
And it was still there. I mean, that's live TV, so when
Yeah.
the splashing stops, we don't know what the
Wait,
situation is there. But I think the vertical stripes help in this situation.
good
Yes,
point.
yes.
Good eye for fashion there. And is this a family
What have you
program?
guys brought me into here? That's what I like.
It's an
What is-
optical illusion,
what
really.
is happening?
Aren't we? Isn't this family programming? I mean, should we? Are we pushing the boundaries here?
All the time, as much as we can.
That's what we do at Fox 10. Yeah, we push
Yeah.
the boundary.
Hmm.
What else
Good
should we
times.
talk about to embarrass Robbie?
Got a
Do
lot.
we just get?
Throw it at me. I mean, whatever.
We did Speedos. Do you know much about the Liver King? We were talking about him
Mm.
earlier.
I mean,
Who do you
I
think
know
would win that fight?
Joe
Corey
Rogan.
or the Liver
Joe
King?
Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Corey
Yeah.
against him, or
Oh,
Well, we could throw Corey.
Ooh.
Corey's more like
Corey's
I think
a
the
lover.
announcer.
He's not a
yeah.
fighter.
I bet he's
yeah.
scrappy though.
Yeah.
what
True.
is
I bet he's
what's
scrappy.
the beef? I know, like the
Not a lot
Liver
of
King
clothing
is
to
the
grab.
guy that says he ate raw meat and
Yeah.
got jacked, but then also
Yeah.
turned out he did steroids,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
What's the thing? Allegedly.
He went after Joe Rogan, I guess.
I guess for
allegedly.
calling him out. Yeah. saying,
Oh, okay. So
hey,
they're
you
in
didn't
like
get that
a-
jack that way, bro.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
eating
They're
liver.
in like a
It was a bro on bro.
tussle now.
I
Yeah.
think Joe Rogan had on this guy who does a bit natty or on steroids, and he got called out for it, and it began he's on steroids. But I mean, I feel like the people that are upset and let down by the Liver King because he's on steroids just weren't a part of the joke to begin with. Like,
True.
Did anybody really think this guy was doing that naturally?
Right.
He probably needed to take steroids just to avoid E. coli from
Yeah.
what he's eating. because he doesn't cook anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
it doesn't.
duck bladders and stuff.
It doesn't mean just because you're eating the liver doesn't mean you're not also taking. You can do both at the same time.
True.
Apparently. So.
Yeah. One is not exclusionary to the other.
Right. So,
Yeah,
how much did the liver add to his bicep size?
Liver might be steroids for all we know.
Liver might
Where
be
do steroids come from? Who knows?
You may be, surprised by my giant physique, but just like a little simple protein shake, There's nothing wrong with
all you
some
need.
strawberry banana and some peanut butter and some almond milk.
Do you do that?
That'll get you there.
Do you do
I
that?
Usually breakfast or something like that.
Really?
Usually do
Keeps
it.
you svelte.
Yeah.
What goes in it?
I usually like some type of fruit, like banana, strawberries, a little peanut butter, almond milk.
And that fills you up for how long? Would you say?
Until like lunch's time. I'm not a big I like breakfast food, but I'm not usually hungry when I wake up. I'm
Me
like
either.
I'll drink
Yeah.
like 17 cups of coffee, but that's about
Yeah.
it.
Same.
My problem is eating at night. I mean,
That's the working. I didn't mean to cut you
Yeah,
off,
yeah.
but working late like this,
Yeah.
like second
Right.
dinner when I get home at 12:30 or so,
It's rough.
That's definitely not healthy.
and
I made
like,
a cheese quesadilla last night when I got home at
Yeah.
like 11:45
Yeah, yeah,
at night.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I wake
The
up
house
like
is
a
quiet, it's easy to
zombie,
do it,
and
yeah.
I'm just like zombie to the fridge.
Mhm.
I mean, like I don't even. I barely remember it in the morning. I see a wrapper next to on my nightstand.
Brian
I'm like,
waking
what?
up
How did that happen?
In his Speedo.
somebody
It's
break
like,
it?
how did this get here?
Speedo.
I don't remember
The
last
Speedo
night.
Bandit
the
came in
Speedo
and
on
ate the
me.
Snickers. What is going on?
True cavemen would not care about when they eat because they're
True.
starving all the time. So
Yes,
whether the
yes.
prey comes at night or the morning, you just
I've
take
always
it,
equated Brian Webb to a true
And-
caveman.
and-
Right.
Did cavemen have blenders to put the fruit into and then ice?
It
And
just that
Bull
they just gnaw on
testicles.
it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think we're cut out for that. I'm not cut out for that lifestyle. I need a blender. I need a microwave.
Oh, I wouldn't last even probably in the 1950s. I don't
Yeah.
think I would have made it.
Like if you took away my blender and my microwave and even left me with an oven, I'd say 50-50 I don't make it out of there alive. How do you turn this thing? How much heat? How long? What?
Yeah, luckily my wife is I don't mind cooking, but my
Yeah.
wife is the big that's one of her big passions is cooking.
Sure.
So I lucked out there big time.
Oh.
And I'm a cleaning guy.
Yeah.
So I've worked out. She cooks dishes.
Fair enough.
Nice.
Little guy helps
Fair
dry
enough,
them off.
fair enough.
It's a good deal we got going on.
Sometimes I wonder, like, if I went back in time, am I even smart enough to prove to people that I'm from the future? Or would I just be able to tell them, like, oh, there's these cell phones? And they'd be like, well, what are phones? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
you could talk to somebody. Well, show us how it works. I'm like, I'm not really sure how any of it works. It just works.
I don't know
you
how to create fire. I hit a button on my phone and the fireplace turns on. What do you guys like?
That's
Trust
a
me,
good
this is the
point.
future. Like,
I could maybe make a wheel, but yeah, if they were like fire, we've seen that from the bright flashes in the sky. But how do we make fire? I'm like,
Rub
you
sticks
gotta go
together.
to the store.
There's an
and
app for that.
Get a lighter and some lighter fluid. I don't know.
where's your closest fries? Do you have one of those?
The
Or
rabbit
safe
hole
one?
to explain all of that would just be like, yeah, this guy's full of it. You know,
Exactly.
it's like conspiracy theory stuff. This guy says he can make fire, and in the future they're going to talk on these little boxes in there.
And then you get burned at the stake. It's a great time.
Yeah, we're all witches.
Yeah, it would be
then.
immediate demise.
Yeah.
Like, no,
You wear
guys, the Earth
Speedos,
isn't
yeah.
flat. Well, how do
Yeah.
you prove that?
And you be
I don't
very, very careful who you share that information with,
Yeah.
because if they don't like what you're saying, you're right. Next thing you know, that you're on trial.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope. You're maybe
It's like
being
pouring
hung,
down that water slide.
burned at the stake, or you're
Be
wearing
like
a
trying to
Speedo.
convince Lori Vallow of something.
Right. Yes.
Does poor Robbie get to talk about sports at all today?
We don't have
Maybe,
to.
maybe.
Whatever. I'm
Should we try like a show where we bring him in, but we talk about no sports at all?
We're doing it now. I think
responsible
we just continue
show,
it.
yeah.
No, I think we just continue it.
You know what I did see with last night, and I know we no longer have a hockey team here anymore.
Well, thanks for rubbing it in, Brian.
Sorry, but I was watching the NHL
Yeah.
draft last night. Yep. God, these kids look like babies. I mean,
Usually, most of them are 17 to 18
Yeah.
years old because
Yeah.
they play. A majority of them play juniors in Canada, and then they get drafted. And it's unusual for even a first-round pick to immediately go straight to the NHL.
Oh,
They
okay.
sometimes go back to their junior teams, or if they're a college player or they're going to go to college, they go to college for a year or two, and the team that drafted them still has their draft rights,
interesting.
and then they can sign them at a
It
certain
is
point
it
in the
is
future.
funny you say that though, because I've seen these memes on online, but you'll see like the 70s, 80s NFL draft, or even going back to NHL, and you'll see these guys who it shows like, Brian Johnson, 22, Guy's got like a full beard.
big time.
Looks like he's been working on
Big
the line
time.
for like 44 years. Just totally grizzled guy,
Yeah.
18. You know?
Yeah, I know.
But the guys today, just baby faces.
Did you say Brian
That's what people
Johnson?
probably think.
I did, yes.
That's the Liver King.
It is. I meant to say Brian Webb.
Yeah,
actually.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, the glory days behind him.
That's what people probably think when they tune into sports on the weekends. They're
Mm.
like, this is a major market. Why is there a 12-year-old anchoring sports? Little they know I'm actually 33. I just look like I'm 12.
I had a boyish face.
You still have the
30
boyish face.
plus years into this career, I
Figure.
don't. Yeah, figure.
Bold statement.
So yeah, so it'll pass with time.
Yeah,
You'll get this gray hair, then you have to start coloring it, and then you gotta, do all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what? Can I ask you one thing? I
Yes.
did read an article about the trade with Kevin Durant. I know that's old news now, but they gave Houston an A+ on the trade and Phoenix a D-.
Mm.
All
What do
that
you think?
stuff is just for
Yeah.
it gets clicks
Well,
on the internet.
you were
I
saying
mean,
last night the fans seem like they're pretty psyched about it, though.
I mean, I think the general, if you like the pulse this time a
Mm-hmm.
week ago, before this time last week, Kevin Durant was still on the team. Like none of this stuff had happened
Right.
yet, and there's so much uncertainty. People knew that moves were going to happen. What were they going to do? What were they going to get in return? And then the Durant trade happens, and I
Right.
think people were kind of like initially like
The
that's it.
shock.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we got more?
Yeah.
And then you look at what happened, and okay, you got 2 starters from a team that was one of the best teams in the NBA last year. You got 2 of their starters for Kevin Durant. The 10th overall pick, which they ended up getting Kaman Malawach, the center out of Duke, who was thought to be a top 5 pick, but he just kind of fell down draft boards for whatever reason. So he kind of falls into the Suns' lap. And then for a first-time general manager, Brian Gregory, wheeling and dealing in day 2 of the draft to pick 2 players that were also projected to potentially be first-round picks in Bashir Fleming and
Okay.
Kobe Brea. And then now you start to see, oh, okay. So you turned Kevin Durant into potentially 2 starters and 3
Wow.
young players that you hope could be rotation pieces or starters in the next couple years, because these are all young guys, obviously, coming
Robbie
out of the
Baker,
draft.
glass half full.
So in a week, and
Love
you
the
still got to look
optimism.
at the roster that this is still a very unfinished product. It's like if you went to the grocery store and you had, you're making a pasta deal and you have marinara sauce right now. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of stuff still that needs to happen to get this all to come together. But I'm optimistic. I think this is a younger, more athletic, and bigger size-wise basketball team than we
Okay.
had the last couple of years, and that's
Take-
a